Hi, Deepak. For the viewers, may we request you to please share your journey in your own words?
Yes, absolutely. So I did my bachelor's in computer science around 11 years ago in 2010. And post that, I have decided to do an MBA multiple times. Like I started preparing for CAT in 2000, I think 13, then started doing GRE prep in 15, but never got to complete any of those tasks. I got it on site, like I was working in London 3 years before I did my MBA.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point of time in my life, I decided that I do want to do an MBA because I was kind of not moving forward with my career at one point in time.
Okay.
I thought it was too late, but then we thought about the timeline and how it could actually align with what I wanted to achieve in the future,
Right.
and decided, okay, let's start the journey. Let's try to get a score first, and let's see if that actually helps me get to a good school, and then we'll think about okay what to apply, and then whether I actually want to do an MBA or not.
Right. Okay.
So after 9 years into the job, I did decide to book a date, and I hired Experts Global as my advisor,
Mm-hmm.
and just followed the path. Like it was like a brainless activity. I got the detailed plan from them. I started following the activities one by one, and I gave the exam in like 6 months after I decided to do my MBA.
That's amazing.
I got the result, and it was a good score that I got.
Right.
That's when I decided, okay, now the things are getting real, and let's start thinking about the application process in this school.
Right.
So it was not ad hoc that I decided to do an MBA. It was always in the back of my mind. It's just that I decided too late, but it's never too late. Like even after 9 years, I'm happy to say that I did my MBA, and now that I'm in a good position.
That's amazing and it's very inspiring. So, in your opinion, what are a few factors or actions you took that made all the difference?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. So what I'll think is the most important thing is having a very strong reason on why you want to do an MBA. See, it's a long journey. Like approximately 3 to 6 months of effort that you will be giving in. So you need to really have that motivation inside you to
Right.
go through that prep work, then go through the application process,
Yeah.
then wait for the results, and then finally start your MBA process and finally start your MBA school, right? So that motivation really has to be strong, and having a clear-cut reason why you want to do an MBA is really important. So really think hard about that. Then the second most important thing that made a difference was booking a date. Like you can think about it, you can think about preparing, you can devote some efforts into it, but unless you have a date, you don't have a deadline. And having a deadline is really important for you. So that actually made a huge difference in my entire process. And then the third thing was adhering to the timelines given by Experts Global. So the
Mm-hmm.
plan that they prepared for me was really detailed. It focused on my improvement areas and helped me practice along the way on my stronger areas.
Right.
So that everyday dedicated time, even after like, I know most of the people who want to do a GMAT prep would be working probably. So having that dedicated time of the day where you just devote your time for studies is really important. And then weekly test and the review process for those weekly tests. So it's a whole journey. And all I can say is that dedication, devotion, and having a strong decision power and motivation will make a difference.
Okay. Okay. So, with the benefit of hindsight, what are a few mistakes you believe you committed in the process?
Right. So
Yeah.
the first thing I would say would be to give a practice test too soon, right? So when I decided to do a GMAT, I got in touch with my friends who have gone through the same process, and they advised me, okay, you have two free tests from the ETS website. Try to give one of them and see what are your improvement areas.
Okay.
Probably that was a mistake because I gave the test too early without any preparation, and I got a really low score, which kind of, hindered my confidence. So probably not a good idea. Like do some preliminary prep first and then give the paper so that you have like a score of 600 or 650 or something that will actually not lower your confidence.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first thing. Second thing is overcommitting to the plan that was created for me by Experts Global. So when I was discussing or brainstorming the entire plan or my improvement areas, I thought that I could devote 5 hours of study every day,
Right.
which was not true because when you're working, you cannot estimate every day of your work.
Right.
Right. So overcommitting to a plan could be a mistake that could be very easily made because you kind of overestimate your abilities and you don't think about it in future. And of course, like priorities change. And it's a 6 months long process. So you don't have to think about tomorrow. You have to think about 6 months in advance.
Right.
So what I'll say is like really cognizant about your bandwidth and then committing on what you can achieve was something that I did not, judge very handsomely at that time.
All right. Okay. So going back to your GMAT prep phase, what were the main resources that you used, and what tips will you give to the future GMAT aspirants?
Yes, absolutely. So I did not use any other material than what was provided by Experts Global.
Okay.
So you kind of have your own prep material, which was like expressly prepared for students like me.
Right.
Then in addition, you also provide prep materials from Manhattan, Kaplan, ETS, and all those things. So the whole bunch of prep material that I got from experts,
Mm-hmm.
that was enough for me. And to be very frank, like I don't like candidates do not need so much material in any ways. Like it's all about practicing what you already know. It's quant and basic English, right? So it's not something that you don't already know. It's about practicing it in the right manner. So that's why I chose strategically not to go with any other prep material.
Okay.
And I had good recommendation as well. Like the people who have used experts before me kind of recommended that the material was given by experts is good enough.
All right.
And I wouldn't need anything apart from it. And to think about that, right? I only had 4 hours after my work to prepare for GMAT.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, I could not cover any more material than what was already provided. So
All right.
that's why I did not go for any external material,
Mm-hmm.
and I used whatever was provided by Experts Global.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Coming to your question about what advice do I have for future aspirants, right? So booking a date is really important. I cannot stress enough that unless you have a deadline, you won't start your preparation, or you won't start taking your preparation seriously, right? All the timelines, all the plans come when you have an end date in mind. Okay, I have,
Right.
let's say 6 months, I have 7 months, I have 5 months, and this is how I have to divide my 5 months into the
Mm-hmm.
preparation plan. So
Right.
that is really, really important, and I cannot stress enough.
Okay.
And I would also advise that you should not give too much time in booking a date. Let's say you should not book a date which is 8 months from now, because then again, your plan would be very, easy for you, and you would really like easily deviate from your entire process, and which is not good. So
Okay.
having a tight deadline, I would advise anywhere from 4 or 5 months is good enough. 6 if you have to max it out, but not beyond that.
Right.
And then coming to the application process, thinking really hard about what school you want to apply is really important. Like it helps if you have your achievements, it helps you have your experience. It will actually, and it really helps if those experience align with what the culture of that school is. Because when you're writing your application,
Yes.
that personality that you can bring on the essays is really important. Like your achievements are listed on LinkedIn, your achievements are listed on resume, but your personality is something that you have to really relate with the culture of the school.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what every school looks into you, like
Right.
how that school can contribute to your progress in your career, and how you can contribute to the culture of the school. So that match is really important. So thinking really hard about why you want to apply to a school is again important.
Yeah, absolutely. That is true. So, what would you like to say about managing your application timelines? Like, what are your learnings from that?
That's actually a great question. So one key learning from my application process and how did I manage the timelines is that
Mm-hmm.
never rush for round one applications. Like I know many of the people say that it is really important for you to apply in the round one.
Mm-hmm.
My experience was not exactly opposite, but yeah, not really aligned with what people say about round one applications. Yes, you do need to target that. Of course, like your exam date should kind of align with that. Like if you give a paper in July, let's say you have your TOEFL by June, you can really go for that August to September round one timelines. But it's not a hard deadline. Like if you don't get into round one application, it's not the end of the world, right? So the focus is on getting your applications right. It's not about applying early. It's about bringing, again, like I would stress that point again, bringing your personality into your applications. And if you need time for that, take that time, because
Right.
most of the admits that I got was from round two, and most of the admits that everyone gets are from round two.
Right.
So the timelines for the rounds for MBA applications, which I would advise is go for round one. Of course, you should aim for that.
Yeah.
Try to bring as much personality in your application as possible. Make it personal, make it about yourself and not about the school.
All
Yes,
right.
of course, you have to match your alignment, but it's more about you. Like schools want to get to know you, which is not in LinkedIn and which is not on a resume.
Mm-hmm.
And try to aim for aspirational schools in round one. How that would help is that
Mm-hmm.
you can target your aspirational schools, and because they are the first thing in your mind, you would actually really focus on them, and your application will reflect that.
Yeah.
And because they're aspirational, there is a high chance that you would get on the base list.
Right.
So by the round two, when you are done with your safe schools and your achievable schools, the weight loss would also start clearing up. So by the end of round 2, which is around February or March, you would have a good sense, okay, what schools can you get into? And of course, that's really important because it's not cheap making those applications, of course, right? You have to think financially as well, because once you get an admit, school would ask you to kind of put down a deposit to secure your position.
Right.
And let's say if you get admits from a couple of schools, that amount adds up. So
Right.
financially, it also makes sense to align your timelines that way.
Yes.
Strictly advise that do not wait for round 3 applications, because that's when you will really get like very low slots, and the schools that you'll get will not be what you want. So
Okay.
round 2 maximum, and if you have to, unless you can't do anything about it, then choose round 3 for applications.
All right. Okay. So, could you share your interview experience with the B schools?
Yes, absolutely. So I wouldn't even call it an interview. It was more of a friendly conversation. And that's because most of the interviews are done by a student body. Even in my school in UCLA Anderson, there is a pool of students who actually volunteer to do the first round of interviews. So the admin panel actually selects the application and then gives to second years
Right.
who have volunteered to take the interviews, and they actually decide, okay, whether the candidate should proceed to the next stage. And the thing how it works basically is that they have a set of questions or set of traits that they want to evaluate a candidate on.
Right.
So that's why it's more of a conversation, because what they're trying to judge is basically you. It's not your achievement, it's not your experiences. Yes, they want to evaluate on you that, and they would ask some preliminary questions about that, like just introducing yourself in 2 minutes would actually give them enough context. But the entire conversation is about how can this school contribute to your growth, and then second, how can you contribute to the culture of that school.
Okay,
So
interesting.
when someone is trying to judge you on these 2 parameters, it's not even an interview. It's more about like getting to know that person more deeply.
Okay.
So the questions that are framed around these 2 interview or question streams is basically all around like they will give you situational questions, and then they'll try to assess your judgment based on that. And that basically helps you them identify your personality, right? So the interview experience is not how would you kind of go and give a job interview, because at the job interview, they're actually trying to test your skills, your knowledge. Whereas completely opposite in a B school interview, they are all trying to judge your personality.
All right.
And the very good thing about these interviews is that they'll try to make you super comfortable, like
Right.
because they have done this 100 times already, right? Even if it's a student volunteer, they would have done like at least 15 to 20 interviews. So
Right.
they would sense that you're uncomfortable, and because they have gone through the process themselves, it really helps them to kind of sense that you are not comfortable or you're feeling tense. So it's okay to take first couple of minutes trying to familiarize yourself with the situation, like realize where you are in a room with an interviewer, and it's not an interviewer, it's like a fellow student who has gone through the same process. So he or she feels what you are right now feeling, right? So
Yes.
that sense is really important to make that connect and be really comfortable in how you talk, because once you start getting nervous, you start like blabbering, and that's really not good for your interview.
Right, absolutely. So, would you like to share more details about your MBA experience?
Yes, I would actually divide my entire experience into quarters, I would say, because most of this went into COVID. So
Right.
it wasn't that bad. It was still a good experience. It was a new experience, but I'll come to that later. So let's start with that, right? So
Yep.
my for UCL Anderson, it's unique to this particular school that the session actually starts in summer rather than fall.
Okay.
And the summer session is 6 weeks long. This is basically for international students to kind of reach there early and then have a couple of weeks in orientation so that they accustom themselves with the culture of a new country, a new school altogether, and start meeting new people as soon as possible. And those summer session for the first 6 weeks is actually for your preliminary classes like accounting and everything else. So that actually kind of puts you into the actual school mode or actual roller coaster that's going to come in fall. That's what I would say.
Okay,
So come
interesting.
fall, you are juggling too many things altogether, right? So you are meeting new people. Of course, you have been doing that since the entire summer, but that's when the classes started full swing. The second year actually come back in fall from their all internships, which were not there in the summer. So you are meeting more people every day.
Right.
You are trying to adjust to a new culture. For 6 weeks is not enough for you to be in a new country with new people and then start adjusting to their own culture. You are juggling that. Then you're going to all these mixers and events because that's really important for you to socialize. You need to know as many people as possible.
Right.
You do not know everyone possibly, but at least like putting yourself out there, having a face to your name is really important, and that comes really handy when you're looking for a job. So which we can visit later. Then you're also attending company events,
Mm-hmm.
because fall is when most of the recruiting activity happens. You get into your prep sessions with your own peers. You can do prep sessions with your advisors,
Oh.
and all the companies actually do come in the fall so that they can
Mm-hmm.
let people know that we are hiring. And of course, not to forget, you are also going classes, right?
Right.
So fall is a roller coaster where you are in college from 8 till 11 in the night.
Oh,
But the thing is, you don't feel it because the environment is so energetic. Your peers are there to support you, and it's fun. Like it's not something that you have to do at a bullet point of a gun, right? It's something that you're doing willingly. It's something that you always wanted to do. So it feels like the entire process is so fun, and the time quickly flies by.
right.
Then the next quarter is, of course, your winter quarter, where the actual recruiting starts.
All right.
So that's where you need to have a little bit patience. But like if you have a internship in your hand pretty early in the winter quarter, the rest of the entire 2 years is just how you want to improve yourself. So I got my internship in, let's say, what, March. It was pretty late,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we're visiting that section later. So
Okay.
I got my internship pretty late. So my first couple of months for winter was a little bit in nervousness, but
Okay.
the process was worth it. But then once I got my internship,
Yeah.
I took, let's say, 5 to 6 classes in spring.
Okay.
So I finished, let's say, 60% of my MBA in the first year itself.
All right.
And why I did that? Because so that I could get more extra time in the later quarters in the second year, where I could take some extra classes, which could actually help me get into a role of product manager, which I aspired when I joined MBA. So the entire MBA experience is really quick, I would say. Like it's 2 years to say, but you wouldn't even know, like 2 years would go in a blink of an eye.
Okay.
And as soon as you're out of school, you would want to go back. So
Right.
the people that you meet in the MBA experience is totally different, because the graduate college is when you are really young. Like you go to graduate college when you're 17 and you're out by 21. So in
Yeah.
your formative years, you make your friends. But when you meet people in the MBA, they're so experienced. They have so much knowledge with themselves. And the learnings that you have from your peers is actually tremendous. So
Yeah.
it's not just about the learnings that you have in class, but also from the experience of different people, because everyone is coming from a different background, different culture, different country. And it's just like it's a very comfortable way of learning so many things in a so friendly manner
Right.
that nothing can beat that experience.
Yeah. It's quite interesting, actually. So, would you like to share more details about your job search experience during the MBA? What tips will you give to the future candidates regarding that?
Yes, of course. Let's come to that, right? So as I told, that I got my internship in early first week of March, which was pretty late for tech recruiting,
Mm-hmm.
because usually tech recruiting happens in early January and usually end by February. But okay, let's start with the journey itself, right? So there are three key aspects to finding job. And when I say job, it's more about internship, because once you land an internship, it's highly probable that you will convert that into a full-time role, because that's how MBA experience kind of works.
Mm-hmm.
So the three aspects of a preparation is individual, group, and then your advisors. So the individual preparation is all about networking.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to start building your LinkedIn profile very early. Like when you start decided, when you decide that you have to do a GMAT, at that point of time, start reaching out to your past managers or past colleagues, peers,
Mm-hmm.
and asking them to kind of contribute to your page, like accolades or recommendations, whatever you can get possibly, because it takes time. It takes like a couple of years to kind of build that profile if you haven't done that already. Try to put in as much details as possible to your past experiences, your past roles,
Okay.
and then follow channels which can show other people that these are the things that you're interested in, because those could be great conversation starters, right? So having a strong LinkedIn profile is key right now in landing a good role. Then of course, resume is something that is reflection of your entire past experience.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a good thing about resume building exercise is that the advisors at your school will actually help you build that out.
Okay.
So you don't have to think about that beforehand. Go through the process that the advisors have kind of assigned for you,
Mm-hmm.
and you will have your resume in a very good shape once you start sending those out. But creating that network is really important. So what I'll suggest is reach out to as many people as possible,
Okay.
dig out any connection that you can find out from your entire past experience.
Right.
Doesn't matter. It has to be like family, friends, acquaintances,
Mm-hmm.
people you're talking just once your entire lifetime. Doesn't even matter. That network building is really important, and you never know who could really help you. Means I have had people that have not spoken. Like I just spoke to one lady for first time in my life. She was an Anderson alum, and she helped me up to a stage whether she pushed my resume in HR.
All right.
So that's why you never know who can help you.
Right.
And your alumni base is really like the school that you go to, the alumni base is really strong everywhere. Like
Mm-hmm.
UCLA alumni base is so strong that whenever you reach out to someone and this, you say that I'm from UCLA, they immediately jump to help. And I do that for current students as well. Like people who are reaching out to me for internships,
Mm-hmm.
I'm really ready to help them because it's important for us to grow our own base as UCLA alums.
Yes.
So that's on the individual thing.
Mm-hmm.
For the group effort, what I advise is like create a group of trusted people altogether because you cannot individually possibly research everything. And research is really important when you're trying to recruit for a company.
Yes.
So if you have a group of 6 to 7 people, what you can do is you can do collective research. You
Okay.
can divide your companies and then share that research with you. And you can also share the questions that you have faced in multiple interviews.
Right.
Also, what it will help is it will help you do those prep interviews, like mock interviews with everyone. Because once you go through that process, you okay, the questions are kind of they follow a pattern. So
Right.
you can try to grill yourself with your peers and then see how prepared you are. And friends are the best way to communicate. Okay, these are improvement areas, and you should focus on that. So
Ab-
having that strong group of people together is really important in the entire journey. And lastly, as I mentioned, advisors. Every school has their own set of advisors. For UCLA, it was Parker Career Management Services, and they're really great. Like they help you build your resume. They keep you motivated always. And if you have anything like any problem, you can always reach out to them. It can be a personal problem. It can be a professional problem. It that you are not able to focus on your work or anything, and they're ready to help. It's just that you have to set some regular cadence with them.
Mhm.
Right?
And that's
So these three things would help you in the entire journey. And last but not the least, patience is really the key over here. Don't lose your mind over not getting a job too early because that thing can happen.
right.
I got my internship in first week of March. It was already, let's say, 3 weeks late.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of my friends actually got it in May or June. So
Okay.
having that patience is really important
Right.
because finding that connect with the company can happen anytime. It's not something that you will find in the first week of recruiting.
Right. Absolutely. So, would you like to share more about your journey post MBA and tell us how the entire pre application experience as well as your MBA journey contributed to your growth?
Yes, absolutely. So the post MBA journey, I interned with Walmart as product manager when I was doing my summer internship, and then I got a full time role with the same company. So my internship experience was exactly what I prepared for my interview,
Oh,
right? So we call it like a product management circles method, which we use to do as part of our mentor preparation.
mm-hmm.
So when you are doing the entire preparation in your fall quarter, that's something combined with the learnings that you have in class will really help you succeed in your internship because that's actually a reflection of what you have so far
Mm-hmm.
while during your interview process and the classes that you're taking so far.
Right.
The remaining, like your summer internship gets started in your end of first year, and then you have second year before you join your full-time role. So the entire second year of your MBA is actually focused on how you can improve more on the skills that you want to apply on a job. So some tip kind of gives you a clear picture. Okay, this is where you are good at, and this is what you can improve. So you
Mm-hmm.
can really focus on the electives and everything, which will help you grow in a full-time role. It may be a possibility that you could not land a full-time role during your internship. So the classes in the second year will actually help you kind of find a different path altogether if you're not happy with the experience in the internship.
Right.
So that's how the MBA experience kind of hones your post MBA experience because the work that you're going to do after a post MBA role is actually very synonymous to what you kind of learning. For me, it was supply chain. So I did some extra classes in supply chain and I'm right now in the last mile division for Walmart. So that's how I kind of catered my own MBA experience
Right.
towards the role that I wanted to have.
That's
So
nice.
that's about the MBA.
Mm-hmm.
But talking about the application experience, right? So what pre-application process kind of prepares you is a couple of, like, I think it's more about dedication, commitment, and patience. These
Right.
are three things that I've learned through my pre-application process.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you think about it, my journey kind of started in December 2018. That's when I decided that I had to do an MBA.
All
I
right.
chose my date for May 2019, which was 6 months apart.
Okay.
I started applying for round one in August 19. Sorry, August 18, my bad. I just, okay. So 17 December, I decided I had to give my GMAT.
Right.
May 18, I gave my paper. 19, I got the admission. So it was like 1.5 years of process before I even got to the MBA
Right.
school,
Mm-hmm.
right? So persistence is something that is taught to you when you're applying for an MBA process. It's not like you decide today and you go to an MBA school tomorrow. It's like that year and a half long process that you have to go through. So that really shapes up your kind of,
Mm-hmm.
entire psychology when you go to a post MBA role.
Right. Okay. So, are there any common mistakes you would advise all the future GMAT aspirants and MBA applicants to avoid?
Yeah, it's one thing is overthinking and over planning. Like you create in your mind that I have to give GMAT, I have to get more than 750 of score, and it kind of really hampers your entire process. Like you have created a giant for yourself and giant of a task for yourself, and at the very day one, you kind of think of it's like it's an impossible for me to achieve. So
Mhm.
overthinking is really happens in the entire process, and then over planning, of course. I said that you have to create a plan, adhere to timeline, but people spend months in planning, just planning. And the inherent reason for that is that they're not just ready to start preparing, and that's why they're probably stalling. So
Mm-hmm.
again, going back to my previous comment, book a date. Like if you have that date as your deadline, everything will fall in place, right? So
Beautiful.
the only thing that the only common mistake is that people say, okay, let me start feeling the process. Let me start, like, even if I can give GMAT, even I'm ready for that. Like once you have decided that you have to do GMAT, book it.
All right.
Not costly enough. Like you can easily do that. It financially not like a dent in your pocket itself. But
Yes.
if you don't book it, nothing is like fall in line.
Right. Absolutely. So, like, what would be your final message and suggestion to all the viewers watching this video?
What I would say is that GMAT is not tough. Now, of course, coming from someone that who has cracked GMAT, it would sound cliched. I would say that it's something that you could really like. You don't have to make it like a monstrous activity. If you do the right things, like if you have a plan in place, it would really become easy. The only thing I would advise is that create that plan. Either do it yourself, hire
Mm-hmm.
experts global, or just reach out to peers who have done this process already.
Right.
But unless you have like a deadline and a plan in process, like a plan in place, it's everything can get tough. Not just about GMAT, but your regular day activity can even get tough if you don't have a. So having those deadlines, having those timelines, assigning activity to each day of what you're going to do, it sounds like too much
Mm-hmm.
on day one. But if you give actual thought about it, like if you think about that for a week or so, of this is what I'm going to do for the next 6 months, that's actually really going to help you in the GMAT preparation. And that's all it takes. Like once you have that timeline, all you have to do is just adhere to the timeline. That's all, right? You don't have to think once you have thought the entire plan the first couple of weeks.
Right.
So that's something that I would really advise everyone to do once they start preparing for GMAT.
All right, okay. Thank you so much, Deepak, because your suggestions are actually very, very helpful, and a lot of students are going to learn from your experience and journey. So, thank you so much for giving us your time, and we really look forward to knowing more about your journey in the near future as well.
I'm really happy that you contacted because like sharing what I went through is really good for me as well. Like
Mhm.
because there are so many learnings that I myself kind of figure out during this process,
Right.
and I would be really happy if one like learns from my mistakes and do not repeat them, of course. So
Thank you for giving us your time.
no problem. Yeah, happy to do that always.
Okay, great. Take care. Yeah,
Like
yeah.
thank you, Diksha.
Thank you so
Good
much.
day.
Yeah, good day.